was that previous to this, that Councillor Scott was at the Black Cat roundabout. I'm told she's now 5 minutes away, so I will bring Councillor Scott in after the officer has been through this. Chris.
Oh, Chair, where do I start? I'm hoping is the
It's the one on the table. Speaking table still on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I have a presentation which I will try and weave all the questions in that have been raised as part of that presentation. Obviously, I will be tracing what's been said rather than repeating in full and trying to give outline answers for that, but there are full written responses anyway. Can I first say on Milton Road, although we're talking Milton Road, obviously one of the questions and one of the recommendations is about Histon Road, and Histon Road needs to start shortly. We have had a meeting with the Chair and the Vice Chair, Lillian, who presented the resolution through Histon Road. So that is part of the report, although obviously the main body of the report talks about Milton Road. In terms of Lillian's question, in terms of the resolutions, yes, I apologise, they weren't on the site, they are on the site now. What I would say in terms of the resolutions is, as we did with Milton Road, as officers we will take those resolutions on board. Obviously they need approving by the board, but as part of developing the concept design for Histon, we will take those resolutions on board and hopefully come up with a concept design that people on Histon Road are as happy can be on that particular scheme. So we will take those resolutions on board, and that will be part of the report that will come. We're looking to bring a report to the Assembly and Board at their November meetings. In terms of, I just answer another question in terms of Milton Road itself, and in general terms for all of the schemes, because what we're designing for is 2031. We're not designing for the issues now, and this does impact on a lot of the questions in terms of modelling. But a particular example from that was from Mr Flynn about the additional housing on Lily White Drive. So we are looking to accommodate those areas of growth. And that actually brings me to another point. What's been agreed here is the concept. This is not the final design. The final design will be worked up over the next 6 months, and we will be looking to bring back the final design that will include things like crossing points, bus stops, looking at the tree planting. All of that will come back as part of the final design. So in terms of why wasn't a crossing indicated at Lily White Drive, bearing in mind the additional housing that's going there, there were some crossings that were indicated, are indicated on the final concept, but not all of them. And we did make it clear to the LLF, and I believe we make it clear in the report, that will be further work, will be done as part of that, part of the design work. So just to bear in mind, it is a concept. We are designing for 2031. We are designing for the increase in number of households, particularly the additional development out at Waterbeach that will impact on Milton Road. So if I can go on to the presentation. So this is a recommendation for the final concept. It's going to the board next week. Obviously we welcome the questions that have been raised. We welcome the Assembly looking at this and hopefully the comments coming back. We believe it responds well to all the project objectives. The objectives I'll briefly go through, but the objectives themselves had bus priority in there. I think actually in 3 of the objectives bus priority was there, but there were objectives about cycling and walking, and there were objectives around the urban rail. I have to say, and I do thank the LLF, and I've been at a number of meetings now, I felt Monday's meeting was very positive from where we have been, and I understand the concerns of the Milton Road residents. And I've said, and I will keep saying, as far as schemes go, I fully understand this impacts on the residents. This is about other people and trying to accommodate those other people in travel terms, but there is a massive impact on the residents. And we have learnt a lot, and I thank the LLF and the residents' associations for that. In terms of the executive board, you've got the objectives that were set there. Comprehensive priority for buses, there is no priority over, by the way. Safer and more convenient routes for walking and cycling, segregating those wherever practical and possible, enhancing the environment, the streetscape and the air quality. Issues have been raised. Richard raised the issue around air quality, and very valid point and right to do so. Additional capacity for trips, because the 2030 we are projecting that the number of trips will increase by about 33%. We could get 33% in congestion as well. What tends to happen, of course, with congestion is the peak hours move out. They're no longer the peak hours that certainly I can remember going back many years, too many years probably, in terms of possibly 8, 8:30 to 9 o'clock. They're now, you know, they can run at 7 o'clock. When I'm coming down here at 6 o'clock in Durham, there are buses all over the place, there are cars all over the place. I used to be lucky to see one 5 or 6 years ago. So what tends to happen, people start coming in earlier or coming in later and doing the reverse at the final end of the day. In terms of bus patronage, yes, we are looking for bus patronage. We are looking for new services to accommodate the increase in housing further up the A10. And we are looking to, if not reduce, maintain current transport levels, traffic levels. So not to have that 30% increase, we are looking to hold it at the current level. Now, they were the original objectives that were set. In terms of then, the board also asked us to consider looking at the do something option, because that was the recommendation then when we went back to the board in June of last year, to look at the do something option. We'll look more at the Union Lane closure. Pleased to note there is nothing now. We have been able to accommodate Union Lane without any closures, without any alternative traffic signals, or without any band turns. And Elizabeth Way, we haven't quite got to the point of being able to do a full Dutch style, but we've got to a point where we feel we're getting improved cycling. But we will be working on that as part of the detailed design. So this is not stopping at this point. This is, if you like, just the restart of the process on the final concept and working that up. We're not looking at band turns at Gilbert or Arbury Road or King's Hedges Junction. So that was something additional that was added in. We support also to look at the traffic management measures, because there are issues around displaced traffic. I mean, if you go up now, certainly at the bottom end, around Mitcham's Corner, I'll guarantee you cannot see the verges because there are a number of parked cars on there. People do park on them. The environment is terrible there for the people that live there. We need to deal with that. So we are going to look at parking around the area and to accommodate people that haven't got on-street parking through the controlled parking zones, the residence parking zones. And they also asked us to note, and as I've said earlier, I hope people do think, we might not totally agree on everything, but I hope people do think we have tried to engage with the local liaison forum and take all the issues there and try and resolve, or at least explain why we can't. So again, the importance of the LLFs. In terms of beyond that, then in September, so that was in June, the board actually agreed in a letter back to the residents that increased bus reliability, it is about bus reliability, improved journeys, new services, frequency, reduced congestion. In addition to that, we were looking at high quality cycling infrastructure, and I'll come on to that later as to what we've been able to provide, and pedestrian provision. And that we do need a high quality design and published road, because this is the part I made earlier, or the comment I made earlier about this is being done to the residents of Milton Road. So the one benefit we can get out of this is improving the environment and of course the support for the avenue of mature trees. And Hamill raised the issue between Herbert Street and Albury Road. It is the narrowest point, that's been picked up on as well in terms of the cycling, that there is no buffer there of verges and trees. And we have committed to carry on working and looking at that particular area as part of the detailed design. Despite what people might think, we can still reduce some of the lane widths, but even further. The minimum, for example, of a two-way carriageway could go down. Design standards do allow you to go down to 5.5 metres. So we can still squeeze space from elsewhere. But that is also part of the discussions. We can still look at the, and I've said so, at the lengths of bus lane. So yes, we will continue to work with the LLF, read the detailed design in respect of the mature trees planted in that area. And preference for the design to avoid the need of double bus lanes, so literally a 4-lane road on any section of Milton Road, which we have actually achieved. Keep doing that. Right. So in terms of the local liaison forum, the local liaison forum have been very influential in shaping the final concept design. We had to do something. I think if you look at the do something, we have moved quite significantly to try and accommodate, while still returning our view is very much as officers that we have still maintained the objectives that have been set for us, at the same time trying to accommodate as much of the do optimum proposals that came out of the local liaison forum. The LLF resolutions that are on the agenda have been adopted. We've made recommendation there, and that will go to the board, and we will be seeking that the board ratifies what we said as officers, but we have tried to adopt all those resolutions in a very positive way, unless they significantly affect individual objectives, design guidance or road safety. So we have tried to accommodate that as much as possible, even looking to move towards minimum standards. Modelling. Modelling has been an issue all the way through. Modelling is not science, it's an art, but having said that, that is how every scheme in this country is designed. That is what we've got to do, that's what we've got to then use to demonstrate to government in terms of to Department for Transport, through their processes, it's called WebTag, what we can achieve with the scheme, and it comes back to then the cost-benefit analysis in terms of does it achieve more than you actually put into it. So a cost-benefit of 1 would mean for every pound you put in you get a pound back, a cost-benefit of 2, which is where the Department of Transport would like us to go, means you get £2 back for every pound you invest. That is not to say that that is the only consideration, but when you're going to hit those sort of levels, 1.5 and above, you have further hoops to jump. It's not impossible, it can be done. It was done in London. London always seems to be an exception, but when they did the extension to the Jubilee line, that had a cost benefit of less than 1, and it was still done. It was to do with development. So it can be done, but you've got more hoops to jump through. We have tested the designs against the junctions to make sure there's suitable capacity. Ultimately, of course, what we are talking about here is road traffic, because in terms of cycling and in terms of pedestrians, they have their own segregated areas, so it doesn't actually affect the modelling of the junctions. I mean, it is the junctions, it's not the links in between. You get queues at junctions. unless you've ever been in a queue on a motorway and you get to the front of it and you wonder what happened there. Someone brake heavy, and that was it caused a queue. But in the main, delays at junctions, so that's what we model. And the length of position of bus lanes have been optimised to try and accommodate that. So we've looked at where the queues would start, and there was obviously a comment by Richard, which I'll come on to, Richard Cushing and Matthew Danish about this. But we have looked to accommodate the queuing, not necessarily at the point that the ultimate length of the queue occurs, but also to allow for the fact that traffic starts to slow as it hits the queue length. And this is all about reliability of buses, not buses going fast, but going at a steady speed all the way down. And there is still option to look at that, and we will still look at that. So it isn't that we're saying the bus lanes are sacrosanct, those are the lanes. We made the point at the LLF, we made the point in the report, but that's still an opportunity for us to look at. Provision for pedestrians and cycle movements is taken into account as well. In terms of the particular question, so Richard Cushing mentioned that it's seen as a corridor. Yes, it's a bad choice of words. I hope that what I have been saying, and I've said at LLS, that I do see it as people's homes. I do fully recognise that. We may still use language that isn't the best language. We will definitely try, as I will definitely try not to use the term city deal through the presentation. Sometimes we do slip up, forgive us for that. We do need to be consistent with traffic flows, which was the next point, with up-to-date information, and that to a certain extent is why, of course, you don't see the consistent information coming through. For example, when the first scheme came out, when we looked at it, we went all the way down to Mitcham's Corner. So all the traffic modelling was done right down to Mitcham's Corner. Now, of course, it doesn't go all the way down because that was looked at as a separate phase of the work, but still co-joined with it. So we are actually modelling down to the end of the scheme, and also from the side, well, from the busway down to there before it went from the A14. So I apologise for that. However, at the end of the day, what you are seeing is consistent in terms of comparing like with like, do nothing with do something, or do nothing with do optimum, or with nothing do optimum and final concept. They are consistent. They're over the same lengths. The first two weren't. They're over a different length. But if you compare do nothing with the do something, then there is a consistent way to look at that. In terms of the Cramix model, it is fully up to date. We have accommodated every bit of housing that is in the local plan. And again, it is something that we have got to accommodate. We can't accommodate speculative development. So it is what's approved local plan. Having said that, we do sensitivity testing. So we do check what the implications will be if we get a further increase in housing over and above that. But in terms of the actual model that we've got to submit to the DFT, it can only go on the approvals that are currently in there. In terms of journey times, the journey times are what have come out of the model, and it is a standard model. No, it doesn't look at cyclists, no, it doesn't look at pedestrians, but it does look at journey time for vehicular traffic, and that was the key thing in terms of looking at bus lane lines. Pollution, you will see that on one of the city access report. Pollution is a big issue for us, and yes, pollution will be looked at as part of this. It will be then monitored. We are also looking at an air quality zone around Cambridge anyway. We are looking elsewhere on the agenda again on city access. As I mentioned earlier, we are looking at electric buses and what can be done there. In terms of Matthew's comments, I knew this would work somewhat. So again, it was on the modelling. Take the do optimum and take lesser bus lane. It does come back. We are still working on that. We will still be working with the LLF on that. We recognise the do optimum was a strong basis. We feel it was a strong basis for the final concept. The modelling of the Do Optimum, to be fair, took out existing bus lane. The Do Optimum took out existing bus lanes, and bearing in mind the objectives that the board set us, it actually increased journey times down there for buses. And there was a later question about people's psychology and why they're in cars and why they aren't in cars and so on. But that is something to do with it. As buses go past and people are sat in queues, it does trigger them that may be a better way of dealing with it. We are only looking to place bus lanes where we need them, but we will carry on working that through. So it isn't, go back to the point, it's the final concept, it is not the final design. Come on, why is it frozen?
That being air conditioning.
Yeah, the hot air from me, probably, sorry. That was not that electricity. No, it's frozen. So, I'll actually, probably the most interesting part as well. Oh, we've gone. It's slow. It's seriously. Let me do these first, seeing I've got them, otherwise we're going to be waiting a while if it jumps around. So, talked a lot about bus lanes. I will come back. We've got some visualisations and some cross sections. That's what it's obviously struggling to load for some reason. But in terms of the bus lane, so the actual total additional length of bus lane on Milton Road is 190 metres. So we're looking at 1,300 metres of bus lane there proposed. There's 1,100 metres now. In old money, of course, that's about 3/4 of a mile originally, and we're now getting up to just short of a mile, 190 metres extra in total. Interestingly, presentations are great when we work. Right. The next slide, interestingly, shows the length of segregated, and I know there will be an issue about what segregated actually means. We mean anything that's segregated by a curb. Most of the cycle lane, though, is segregated by planting. The one area, again, that wasn't was at Gilbert Road, and in that case we've just got the cycle lane next to the carriageway. However, in terms of cycle lane provision, there's a further 1,725 metres of cycle lane provision on Milton Road. And most of that is segregated via planting and trees, or as I say, there's that little bit that isn't. And a significant amount of that is actually in two-way cycling, so it's not just single-way cycling. And there were a couple of questions around that, which... Yeah. Okay, thank you. So that's the additional length. So we've actually, just to compare and contrast, we've 4,300 metres of in the main segregated cycleway. That's a good mile longer than what we've currently got, 2,575. And in terms of bus lane, we've got, to try and put it into context, we've got that extra 100 and odd metres, 190 metres. So that's the context we have tried desperately to move towards the optimum. Erica McDonald isn't here, I appreciate it, but she raised the question about road expansion not needed, mostly walking and cycling. I contend that the design that we've got actually isn't increasing, well, it isn't increasing any extra road width in that sense. We're not pinching anything in road width, but we are actually providing a lot of improvements for walking and cycling. The point again, though, makes the point for the request for refuges and crossings. That will be a detailed design workshop that we will hold with the LLF. We've already promised that. That, together with trees, is another one. Bus stops is yet another one. So, in terms of observing the foot and the bike movements, yes, we have surveyed Milton Road. We welcome the Carpen cycle survey. So, we have surveyed it. We do know the numbers that are using it. However, having said that, we are providing footways for pedestrians. We are providing, in the main, segregated cycleways, over 2 miles, nearly 3 miles of segregated cycleway for cyclists. They shouldn't be on the road. That's what we're providing it for. So it doesn't actually affect the road movements in that sense. We are planning for beyond 2030, well, for 2031. So I feel we have accommodated that, and as I say, there is a full written response to all of these. Roxanne made the point, Gramix doesn't model people walking and cycling. No, it doesn't, because that's not what it's meant to do. What we've tried to do is segregate it, so rather than reiterating that, we do make the point, a very valid point as well, about the no room for bus stops other than in the cycleway. Yes, we do need to work closely to try and accommodate where the appropriate position for those bus stops are. You make the point about delivery vans on verges, and again, yes, that's a very valid point. That occurs now. There will have to be some traffic management, whether that is parking restrictions and things like that. That will be all part of the final design process. In terms of validation, we have been challenged on validation, which is a valid thing, which is very valid to do. And we have actually used Royal Dutch Haspinen, who are a Dutch firm, so well versed in cycling, and they have validated the way we are modelling. Yes, they have different models in the Netherlands, but unfortunately I'm not in the Netherlands. If I were a Dutch engineer talking to a Dutch committee, I would be using Dutch information and so on that they regularly lose. It's not a standard that is recognised here, so I can only work with what I've got. Having said that, Royal Dutch have said yes, they do validate the results that we've got out. And as I say, we will have further discussions about the bus stops and the parking. We will be looking for residence parking for those that haven't got on street, haven't got off street, as part of a further exercise as well. So all of that will be covered. In terms of the streetscape and the environment, we have maintained as far as possible, with one exception that's been raised, trees that are planted, trees that are semi-mature, so that's about a 5 metre tree. That's an existing tree, that's the type of tree, not necessarily the species, but that's the sort of height that we'll be looking at. But again, working with the LLF and going through, in terms of the type of tree, and we know that columnar trees, if that's the right phrase, could be something that we could look at the Gilbert Road, Arbury Road end, where we've limited space. So the new tree planting will be specifically designed for the location that thrive in the environment, and as I say, there is the workshop there. We are giving consideration to the streetscape improvements outside of the local shops as well, but that is private, so we need to talk to them, but obviously we don't want to leave that opportunity at this stage. In terms of capacity, we feel that we've made significant improvements to facilities for pedestrians and cyclists. It is based on the do nothing in 2031. There is savings there, 4 minutes and 1.3 minutes, and people will say, well, that isn't a lot. However, you talk about the number of buses that run down there, you then talk about the average patronage on those buses, and that starts to get quite significant. So, and that is all part of the cost benefit that we will have to prove to make sure that we can go ahead with the scheme. In terms of maintaining or even decreasing traffic flows and traffic levels, we are trying to give a significant shift, and Mike has has asked about what the measure would be, and yes, modal shift would definitely be a measure, and it would definitely be a monitor that we would look at. But we're looking to maintain those levels, or at least reduce them, bearing in mind the increasing population and economic growth. Andy Campbell got away with a comment that I wouldn't get away with as an officer. So I'm paraphrasing Andy's comment, but Andy's comment was very much along the lines, do people seriously believe that if we are building 10,000 houses at Waterbeach, that will not have an impact on traffic levels down Milton Road? So we are trying to accommodate that. There are views, is it too much, is it too little that we're putting in, but it is based on traffic models that we have used in the past and will continue to use in the future. Further bus priority measures at junctions are possible to us. So those savings that we've got don't actually mean that those will be the ultimate savings. We will look at further savings that we can get from putting very signals buses at the junctions. That hasn't been designed in there yet. That will be designed in as part of the final design. Actually, the model does show that notwithstanding the increased traffic flows in 2031 and the modal shift we are expecting and working on at the moment, that traffic flows will be actually easier and there'll be a bit better traffic flow with general traffic. As part of the detailed design, we will probably be looking to finish some of that time as well and give that to buses. So there is still work to do on this, and all of that can help with the length of the bus lanes, which is obviously still a really key issue. I will try and...
Chris, I'm not trying to stop you, but I'm conscious that time's moving on. I know there was a lot in there, and there are a lot of questions, but we've got the chair of the LLF and the Assembly still to go. So if you could...
So, finally, Chair, because I'm not going to get any further with the layouts, I'm afraid, to give you some idea on the time, and there are some more questions then just to cover off. So we're looking for Executive Board approval on the 21st, on the 26th, sorry, the Assembly now. The deadline for questions for people that are in the room is the 21st. You do need to raise those with the board. You cannot assume that they will go from the Assembly to the board. So by all means, if you feel that there's further questions, additional questions, that's where we will go on the 21st. Summer and the autumn will be looking at the detailed design. So in 2018, winter, 2018, January, February, we're looking to come back to the Executive Board and the Assembly to consider the detailed design. And then it will go out to consultation again, so plenty of opportunities still. Questions that still got to be quickly answered. City access and the need for results coming out of city access. We are working, it is all co-joined, we are looking at city access. One of the things that we have done is a study. Andy may have made that comment in terms of Drummer Street. Andy's fully aware that we have done a study of all bus services in the centre of Cambridge and looked at other areas where there may be suitable interchange points. So we are alive to that, we are looking at that. We've included all the development that we're aware of. We will also sensitivity test it. Sorry, this is to Daphne Law. And city access, as I say, city access has done the full study. Michael Page, what does success mean? Yes, success means that we get a scheme with modal shift. Success personally to me means that I get a scheme that I can get most people happy with who live on Milton Road. That's to me personally. But yes, it is about modal shift. I have to say success is not to the officers to build a scheme and to get it to cost and to time. That is not success as far as we're concerned. Never has been and it never will be. But that improved urban realm is getting less vehicles, because ultimately if we don't do something there will be more vehicles and everybody's worst nightmare will come to fruition on that. But all schemes will be monitored, all schemes, not just Milton Road. Maureen asked the question about the evidence in the AMPR and the travel diary and the need for future research, such as counting pedestrians and cyclists. As part of the diary exercise, we'll be launching a big consultation exercise as well, so we will be talking to people. So we will be encouraging them to fill them in online. It can be multiple from houses. But that's all about understanding what people's future needs are. ANPR only tells us what the current state of play is. APNR cannot do cyclists. The way it works, it takes number plates, it recognises what vehicle that is, no details about the individual, but then it tells us where that vehicle has ended up. No, the survey was not too expensive to do on Milton Road. In fact, we've done pedestrian and cycling surveys. What was expensive, and I question the benefit of it, was doing a modelling exercise, because I'm not modelling for them, I'm providing a lot more for them. I don't need to model those in the general traffic, because the whole idea is we've provided all this additional segregated cycling, and there were a number of issues came out. Can we not keep the cyclists just on that? Unfortunately, no, not in terms of the road, but payments, yes, we can enforce the payments. The question then, I always know that my off-the-cuff remarks get reflected back. It is about psychology of drivers. There has been work done on psychology of drivers as to why drivers won't car share. Drivers won't car share in the main because they like that little bit of space in the morning, and this has been done, this is being verified, to come round to prepare themselves for the day. So those sort of things have been done. It is about them seeing though, it is about that perspective of them seeing as drivers, buses go past and they're in a queue, that it is better for them to get on the bus. But yes, there is more to it than just about bus use and bus reliability. The conversation that we will be having will pick up on that. We will be asking people what makes people use buses, what makes people not use buses. So we will be asking those sort of questions. Just want to check, Chair, sorry, I know you want me to move, but there were still some questions that were on the visualisations. So Matthew Danish had asked about the modelling. I dealt with that one. Safety was another issue. Yes, there will be a full safety audit, but this is only a concept. So safety auditing this, but it will change. We are doing everything in the design, even the concept design, that we feel meets current day standards. We could actually reduce some of the widths. So we're still not at the barest minimum to reduce them down. We could go down 5.5 metres. What people may think about that is another issue, but that is a standard that we could use. So we will still look at creating whatever space, particularly for the landscape and the tree areas, particularly trying to segregate the cyclists from the live traffic. So we will be looking for as much space as possible. In terms of safety audits, there will be a safety audit of the final design, that will be there. There is then a safety audit of the scheme once it's built. So there are plenty of opportunities, and they will be published. Chair, thank you for your indulgence. I hope I've answered every question. I'm sure people might feel that they may not have it fully answered, but if I've missed someone out, then by all means, apologies for that. I tried to read it in, which was slightly complicated.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Chris. I realise that's probably not the easiest way to deliver a report by answering questions in the middle of it. There was me at the beginning of this, very keen to make sure you all declared interests, and I did say that if anything occurs to you at anything later in, I'm a resident of Milton Road, I think I should declare that as an interest for this article. So, Councillor Scott, thank you very much for coming in a taxi. Sorry we couldn't get you in before the report, but I think you've had time to get your breath back now. So
that's right, and it's I who should thank you for your indulgence, and the whole of the Assembly. I do appreciate it on behalf of myself and also the local liaison forum, Milton. I should also thank Michelle Wither, who kept in touch with me by texting so that I knew where things were, she knew where I worked. I'd just like to address the resolutions and the response from the officers in their report, and also the recommendations that the officers have made to the Assembly. Before doing that though, I should thank very sincerely all the members of the Local Liaison Forum, my councillor colleagues and the Residents Association representatives, and all the residents who participated in many, many meetings, in the workshops, and also have contributed by twittering and tweeting and sending out messages, and also leafleting extensively so that as many people in the neighbourhood knew what was happening as possible. And in that, I should mention in particular Michael Page and Charles Nisbet, Matt Danish and Michael Bond, and then also pay tribute to the officers, and particularly Chris Tunstall and Paul Van den Bolt, because they spent a number of hours, in addition to the other work that they were doing on this project, discussing with Michael Page, Charles Nisbet and Matt Danish the issues. I come now to the resolutions. Our first resolution adopted Do Optimum, and that was our key resolution. And in that, we do appreciate that that has been used as the basis for the development of this concept that's now before the Assembly. We also, however, in that, pay attention to and note that the concept that's before the Assembly has included the bus lanes in the stretches and the lengths that they are. And as will be absolutely apparent to the Assembly, it's the bus lanes that are the sticking point with residents and in terms of their response to the concept before the Assembly. And it was very pleasing to hear Chris Tunstall acknowledge that they are not, if I may use the term, set in concrete, these bus lane lengths, rather there will be engagement in terms of that with the Local Liaison Forum, and we recognise there's an issue here in terms of bus priority, and that's why the bus lanes have been positioned in the way they are, but we also acknowledge what Chris Tunstall has said, that there can be further engagement on that issue. And as to Resolution 2, the people of East Chesterton will indeed be cheering on this, that Union Lane is not to be closed, and we appreciate that very much, generally, and for the residents of East Chesterton, where this was a huge issue. As to Resolution 3, again, the residents of Highworth Avenue, I think, will be cheering that that is not to be closed. Also, everybody, that the Elizabeth Way roundabout is to remain, and that there is a proposal for further design work on that roundabout, the signalised roundabout, and that will be in engagement with the Local Liaison Forum and the residents generally. As to Resolution 4, the two-way cycling on the northwest side of Milton Road has been addressed in the final concept diagrams, but we do draw attention to the stretch of road, particularly from Gilbert Road and Asham Road, in towards Mitcham's Corner, where there are issues about the trees, and that residents are particularly concerned that the commitment to the avenue of trees be accommodated in that part of the road too. There needs to be protection of cyclists, and there also needs to be the aesthetic of the avenue there, and we appreciate that this will be a part of engagement with the Local Liaison Forum. As to Resolution 5, we do note that officers support the concept of walking and cycling safety, and much reference was made to that by Chris Tunstall. I do understand that the concerns about allocation of space for separation by trees and verges could largely be overcome by allocating less space to the bus lanes. They're concerned about that, we're concerned about that, and that will be a part of the engagement, because we do believe that there is a possibility to extend the commitment to the trees in that area. As to Resolution 6, we note the support of the officers for the Copenhagen-style crossings at minor junctions. As Resolution 7, we appreciate that there is a response here by the officers in the proposal contained in their recommendation F, that there be discussions with relevant property owners and local shops to explore this joint funding possibility. And here I emphasise that the concentration has tended to be on the shops at Arbury Road and Milton Road, and that's really important. There's a string of shops there, and there is the beginning of a vital approach to a community engagement in terms of the introduction of a cafe and the other shops along there, and we do see a huge potential there. But we also believe that there should not be an overlooking of the stretch of shops that go down to Mitcham's Corner. We realise there's work being done on Mitcham's Corner itself, but we do believe that with engagement there are possibilities, which we realise it's much more difficult at that end, but there are possibilities and potential. As to Resolution 8, we're pleased that there's support for the survey of properties on Milton Road that lack off-street parking with a view to making some provision, and we again emphasise in that context those residents around the roundabout at Elizabeth Way. They have concerns about their access and which gives them parking, and there has been a commitment from the officers to look at that, and we appreciate that. Resolution 9 regarding bus stops, the LLF workshop gave strong feedback that there should be core design elements, and these should not simply be an afterthought, and I hear that commitment from the officers to that. We note that the bus stop sign has to pay attention to passengers who are mobile and those passengers who are mobile by reason of the use of wheelchairs. As to Resolution 10, we appreciate very much that really the due optimum has been adopted in terms of Golden Line Junction, and then as to the other two resolutions, we note the support for those going to Park and Ride and so forth, which are not directly within the remit of this Milton Road project, but are definitely germane to it. Now I come to the recommendations of the officers, and simply say this, that I do understand that the Milton Road Alliance has written to the Assembly, all members, in relation to recommendation C, and I'll come back to that. But with A and B, of course, we appreciate those and applaud them. As to D, it's my view that we don't need process as a word after design, and similarly for recommendation E, there's no need for process at the end there either. And as for G, yes, we note them. Now let me just return then to Resolution C. We of course understand the position from where the Milton Road Alliance is coming. If the board were minded to adopt their recommendation as an amendment to the recommendation that's here from the officers, then of course we would support that. At the same time, I have a suggestion for amending recommendation C, which may at least in some part assist. I would suggest that before the word agree, the words